Hi, this is Beth Azor, and this is my podcast, I Own a Shopping Center, Now What? So it's budget season. So between September and October, many property owners start working on their next year budget. So how do we do that? So we take our existing eight to 9 months of actuals and we plug them in. So if you're starting from scratch, if this is the first year you've owned a shopping center, go back and look at your check register or rent manager, which is what we use, and you list all of the items and you create a budget template, all of the items that you have spent money on. Okay, for example, light pole repairs, porter service, pothole fillers, landscaping, rust control, you name it. You list all of the items that you've paid for, and then you put the amounts down that you've spent. You take the 9 months, divide it by 9 and multiply it by 12, and that should give you the annual. But in a budget spreadsheet, for the following year, for example, 2026, you would just spread it out over the 12 months. And then some of those are recurring, like landscaping. We pretty much spend the same amount every month. You might have irrigation repairs that pop up, which is not a set number. We've already gotten our trim notices for our real estate taxes this year, so we know what it will be for this year. We just always put that number in plus 10% for next year. Some of your vendors, like landscaping, they may start to turn in some increases for the following year, but I wouldn't ask them because then that gives them the idea. I probably would just increase across the board 10% on some of those scheduled costs. If you think you're going to have some rollover or vacancies and you turn on the lights or the water, that might be some charges that you want to put in there, or vice versa. Maybe you're leasing up by the end of the year and you won't have any vacancies to have water and FP&L, which is electric. So maybe you would just put a small amount. And then working on the income part of the budget. If you have vacancies, when will they be leased? At how much? Will you give TI? What are the CAM taxes and insurance reimbursements? So we do budgets for all of our properties. It's something that we send to our clients, our partners, in every financial update report. How are we doing compared to budget? And the longer that you own the property and the longer that you've been doing this, the easier it is to pretty much stay on budget. Certain things might come up. For example, last year, I remember we had a time frame where we were having a lot of homeless, now like 1 or 2 homeless spend the night and hang out at the property. So I got security for a couple of weeks. That was an unexpected budgeted item we didn't budget for that. So when we sent the reports out to the clients, it was a non-budgeted item. But for us, it probably takes me, Josie prepares it, and it probably takes me 2 or 3 versions to review it before we get a final. Because I tweak things, I think of other things, I think of any capital that I might want to be spending on the next year to put in. But once we have a final, sometimes I send it to certain partners that maybe are larger partners. Like I have one big partner on one of my properties, I send it to him. But otherwise, we just lock it in. And then we use it for our budget comparison reports for the following year. If you do any third-party work and you want to get more, institutions, it's always a good time to reach out to institutions about this time, because if they are interested in making a change with their third-party management and leasing company, they usually do it after the budgets are turned in. So that is what's going on right around this time for everyone, is creating the budgets. If you have any questions about budgets, let me know. I'm happy to always help and give you some feedback or some input. But everyone, you all should be doing budgets. Even if you bought the property this year It's highly likely during due diligence or during when the seller handed over documents for the properties, you might have gotten lucky and gotten their budget. And you could use that as a starting point. I wouldn't copy the whole thing over because highly likely they did things that you're doing differently, but it could be a good starting point. And if you have a property manager and maybe someone in accounting, if you are a larger shop, our property managers, when I was at my former company, they were definitely the ones that started the budgets, and then the accountants worked on the income and the projected estimates, leasing up estimates with the leasing agents, and they are the ones that tied it all together. The property managers inputted the expenses, and then the accountants completed it. I hope this helps. Good luck during budget season. It's always a chore when you're going through it, but it's good to have it done. Our goal is always to get it done by Thanksgiving. And so we're starting now, and it usually takes a couple, probably 6 to 8 weeks to get it finalized. Good luck. Hey, listeners of I Own a Shopping Center, Now What? We have done some research, and we have found out that 92% of the listeners are men in the ages of 50 to 70. So what I wanted to do is shout out to all of you. Thank you for listening. But I wanted to shout out to all of you. If you have a wife or a sister or a daughter, I have a conference every year in March called the Women's Real Estate Investment Summit. There are 250 women that attend, and probably 75% of them are investors in all kinds of different asset classes. We've had women that are fix and flippers, women that have invested in storage, hospitality, student housing, of course, retail, and you name it, senior living, multiple different asset classes, car wash funds. And the women in the room, what I do is I interview women that are investors, and then those women go into breakout rooms and do like a deep dive on how they underwrite their deals, multifamily, etc. And a lot of the women in the room have started investing with each other, which is great, which is helping my goal and mission of getting more women to invest in commercial real estate. But if you have a wife, a daughter, a sister, a mother, that maybe you want them to learn a little bit more about the industry, or maybe they're running your properties with you, have them come. It's March 4th through the 6th. We opened registration last week. We've already sold over 50% of the tickets. I highly predict that we will be sold out by year end. Maybe this would be a great holiday present for the woman in your life. So think about it. You can find out all of the information on bethazor.com. Just scroll down to the summit and you can read all about it there. It is life-changing for the women who attend. At least that's what all the testimonials tell me. And this will be our 6th year. So we've really honed it in and figured it out. So would love to see the ladies in your lives come and meet me and talk about real estate investing. Ciao.